Because we're going to talk about Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United. Quiet game you were attending there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is, though, 5 games unbeaten for Manchester United. We seem to lurch between one or the other. Corner turned or just green shoots of recovery that you saw there?
Yeah, it was a challenging game to report on, by the way. I think I deleted 2 intros before coming up with a third one within about 2 minutes. I've been pretty sceptical about Ruben Amorim and the rain, but I have to say I think in the last month or so there has been a clear improvement, and I felt yesterday was part of that. It was, of course, a position that they a winning position that they squandered, and Amorim talked about that afterwards. He said we've got to get more ruthless as a team. We've got to sort of smell when an opposition's vulnerable. And he talked about the stadium and Spurs were there for the taking. And that's actually good that he's showing that ambition. He was more disappointed having got the last minute goal than Thomas Frank was having, conceded it. I think there's more resilience. The lines are a bit closer, there's less spaces that opponents are finding against United. Just the quality of Mbeumo makes a difference. He was a bit, different class to Kolo Muani for Spurs. And it was progress, but you have to then remind yourself this is still Manchester United, and we're talking about 5 games without defeat being, whoa, that's amazing. Yeah. And clearly the club's got to get to a point that's way beyond that, but it's the beginnings of something, I think.
Yeah, and on Amorim, the last time I was sat in this seat, I think I uttered the words, Manchester United will always have enough good players to keep bad managers in a job, and thankfully you guys clipped that up and put it on your socials, and Manchester United then won 3 on the spin. So
is that your hands off Eddie Howe kind of?
But didn't that almost prove my point? The fact that I did sit here and say they've got good players, they've got Cunha, they've got Mbeumo, they've got Bruno Fernandes. They then went 5 unbeaten. That talks to that point. But yesterday we saw what Manchester United are under Amorim. In a year, has there really been any great progress with identity? I don't think there has been. The summer recruitment was good. Of all the players, and there was a lot of Premier League to Premier League transfers this summer because of PSR, we're seeing more of that now, whereas we didn't 5 or 10 years ago. I think Brian Mbeumo, out of all of them, was perhaps the best. And yesterday, he carried Manchester United again. But under Amorim, I don't see yet what they are really trying to be. He knows what he wants them to be. He's absolutely wedded to this system and this identity and the strategy, but I don't really see it on the pitch. And as I touched on at the top of the show there, this felt like a draw where both teams lost.
Jonathan,
I think I do see. I see what he's trying to do, and obviously, he's not fully executed it yet, and the inconsistency is still a maddening problem. I think I do see what he's trying to do. I think what he's recognised, Amorim, is that United are not. They don't currently have the midfield to be able to control games the way he would like, and the 3-4-2-1 system. If you can't control midfield, if you don't have the personnel who can control midfield, you are playing basketball. And packing that front 3 with the talent, with individual players who can create chances out of nothing. I think that's what we've seen from them. We've seen a lot of late goals. We've seen a lot of kind of streaky goals, and obviously a huge amount of leaks in the defence. That they're still really brittle at the back. And that's something we already kind of knew about them. But and obviously the consistency is not there. But I think I kind of see what he's trying to do, even though he hasn't really properly executed it yet.
Well, you mentioned what United are like just now, games of basketball. If you look at the Mail on Sunday, Riyadh Al Samurai was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well. The headline is, "This was Amorim's United in a nutshell, utter chaos." United extended their unbeaten run to 5, Jonathan, but it still felt like light accounting. For now, United will have to settle for lesser symbols of progress. That said, even if we talk about utter chaos, you could almost relate that to the league as well, because aside of Arsenal, who we've been talking about, United are 2 points off second.
Yeah.
Is this a unique opportunity potentially that the Champions League might not be out of sight for Manchester United, even though we're talking about United that hasn't settled, that hasn't really shown enough so far this season?
Look, I think it's in play for a lot of clubs because it actually looks like the Championship table at the moment, doesn't it, with so many teams separated by 1 or 2 points near the top. Whether United will have that consistency over the long term, I'm not sure. I don't think there's enough chaos about Manchester United. Not too much. You know, I think they need, going forward, to loosen up a little bit out of this quite rigid system. Which John's right about the fact they're trying to almost not win games the traditional United way by controlling the match. They're trying to. It's a much more direct style of play because of the formation. I think they need a bit more creativity going forward. But I just think that the recruitment maybe is the biggest thing that's helped them at the moment. Like the goalkeeper, finally they've got a keeper. He kept them in the game, and that's
unbeaten since he's been there.
And I mean, that's actually a novelty for United, having a reliable goalkeeper in recent years. And then, as I say, Mbeumo, Cunha didn't have his best game, but he was asked to play number 9, which isn't his position, but he still affected it. And it's that thing that Ralph Rangnick talked about, you know, the open heart surgery. It's a club that did need a lot of work on it, and it's going to be transfer window after transfer window. And I suppose, I know, Craig, you're saying you don't see what's happening under Amorim. I'd have said exactly the same a couple of weeks ago. The last couple of weeks have just given me enough to think, okay, there is finally, a year on, finally I think there's just bits of improvement that you could stick with them a bit longer.
Is that not just good players playing well, though? Is that just Brian and Bremo papering over the cracks? And I actually think Manchester United's recruitment in the summer was good, but it wasn't good enough to the point whereby the opportunity is there for a team who finished 16th last year to gate crash the top 4 this season. I think the Premier League, Jonathan touched on it earlier, the days of the top 2 or 3 running away with records points totals, that is gone. The Premier League is good. You know, at tea time yesterday, I looked at the table, there was 7 points separating 13th and 2nd. Yeah. You know, all you've got to do is string a couple of wins together, and Manchester United are there to a point. I think the one signing that is really going to come back and haunt them, Ruben Amorim's spoken about some frailties at the back there, but goals can paper over the cracks. The 2/3 of the way there. And Mbeumo and Cunha are fantastic. They've got Benjamin Šeško terribly wrong. I was watching the game with one of my little boys yesterday, and Šeško went through on goal in the moment before he was injured. And one of my boys remarked, it was a tremendous camera angle. It had him coming face on. He said, he doesn't look like he wants to score. And myself and Jonathan spoke about this earlier. There isn't that belief there. There isn't that nastiness. There isn't that hunger. There's something about his body language that just screams insecure, unsettled, lacking in confidence. And when he went off injured, now, I hope he's okay. I couldn't really identify the point at which he did get injured, and we hope it isn't serious. Ruben Amorim spoke afterwards like it might be. But even before that, he didn't look like a player who fancied the fight, and he hasn't in any of his games so far. If they'd have spent that £70-80 million on a proper centre forward, given what else they've got there, we could have been talking about a team who could finish top 4, top 3.
Like Voltemade.
Well, we'll get on to him. Yeah.
It is early, though, isn't it? Is it too early to judge?
I think Sesko is not. I mean, I think he's looked like short of confidence. He looked really short of confidence yesterday. I think the issue with Sesko is that at Leipzig, he was a player who, with his pace and his movement, he would try and avoid contact. As a striker, you either relish the contact. You're either a Kane or a Drogba or a Haaland who tries to win the contact, or you use your pace and movement to avoid the contact and get into unconventional positions. Sesko is a 6'3" striker with pace and movement, but I think he's being forced into a role where he is being made to he's being put into contact again and again, and it's not really his natural game. So you see the incident where he got. I think that's where he got injured, where Van de Ven and he you can see he's not bracing himself for the contact. Either he's not expecting it, or he doesn't want it. But I think his instincts are to get away and not to brace himself and to get the finish away. And I think that is part of the slight kind of discrepancy into the role that he's been forced into and the kind of striker he actually naturally is.
My biggest concern is the charisma. You touched on Voltemade there. Nick Voltemade has come in not dissimilar circumstances, £70 million from the Bundesliga. And Voltemade has been put into a team that doesn't really suit him right now. When you speak about the role Šeško has been asked to do there, Voltemade, it's not perfect for him at Newcastle, but he's worn the shirt with character, with charisma. He's taken on that challenge. It's not perfect, but that is my concern about Šeško. I don't see that within himself.
I think that's club culture. I think that's prevailing culture rather than any kind of personal failing. I think if Voltemade goes into this United team, I think he struggles in the same way.
Well, like every centre forward before,
right.
Højlund, you go back through all them, Šeško now just almost looks like Rasmus Højlund Mark II, potentially, how it could play out.
We talked about the injury. The Sun mentions that it could be a major injury scare for Amorim, and it may force him to go in to the market in January. It's always a dangerous time to go into a transfer window, isn't it? Particularly for a position like that.
Particularly for strikers, it's a very expensive time to go into the market. I was in the press conference, and Amorim, he was leaving the room as he was asked about Sesko's knee, so he didn't have time to give a full answer, and he just said, "I'm worried," because when it's a knee, it could be anything. He also was quite open to the suggestion that they might buy him some more midfielders, which I think is as much, if not more, pressing for them. And of course, the issue they've got with strikers is that the time that they would need another one is actually December, when Mbeumo and Ahmad go to the Cup of Nations, so they might be short of goals at that point. But I think midfield, longer term for United, and I've thought this for years, substandard in midfield.
Not all of Manchester United's substitutions worked perfectly. Certainly one in particular, Alan.
Yeah, Šeško struggled again. He's only scored twice in his 12 appearances. And he came on today with just over half an hour to go and had two really, really good chances and should have scored, to be honest. They worked it really well, Man United, for him to get in there with a 1 and 2 touch, and that's a good ball in behind. Now, he's either got to get his shot away early or he's got to push that ball forward quicker. He's not going to get that amount of time in the Premier League to work it and try and get it back onto his right foot. This one's the bigger puzzle for me. I know he's struggling for confidence, but any centre forward knows you cannot allow the centre half to come back at you. He's got to get across Van der Ven. So if Van der Ven's going to tackle him, he makes sure he fouls them. And and you should also, by that time, have a picture in your head of where the keeper is and what you are wanting to do. And I don't think he has a clue what he wants to do, because I don't even think he even knows Van der Ven is there and chasing him. So now he should be looking at the keeper, thinking, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And he wants to work it again. He's got to come across again. He's trying to work it onto his right foot. But as I said, he has to get across or take it onto his left foot to finish. There's not once he knows that Van der Ven is actually tracking him and chasing him and preparing to put a tackle in. He's got to get his shot away. I know, as I said, he's struggling with confidence, but it's a big must do better. And no one likes to see him coming off injured, and we hope his knee is okay. But they are two chances that you'd expect at that level that someone has to put away.
Manchester United, I felt, had the game, and Brian Mbeumo he was terrific. He's such a good signing for Manchester United. He's left Brentford and playing exactly the same level for Manchester United. Now, Matheus Cunha isn't. Matheus Cunha, there's been an exaggeration of how well he's done at Manchester United. He hasn't done that well. He's done okay, and yes, he adds, and if he can get back to what he was like at Wolves. But if you look at his goals for, one in the games he's played.
But he looks good. He looks like he's doing all the right things. Like it might come to be a very good signing.
I'm still not sure if he'll ever reach the level of Wolves.
Oh.
Because he carries the ball from the halfway line to the 18-yard box and does it well and brings the team up the pitch. But I think there's, he was a lot more than that for Wolves. And he had a goal in one in 2 games for Wolves. And also Manchester United has suffered because they've had to sort of change the dynamics of Fernandes. So it's come at a little bit of a price for Manchester United. But they were the better team first half. Second half, there was changes. And I've got to say, it was probably the fair result by the end.
Yeah, and you know what? The last 10 minutes of the game were very, very entertaining. It was all going off. And to be fair, the first kind of 80 minutes, it felt like that cup final back in May. It was just a bit of a...
Well, the atmosphere was dead at Tottenham.
Yeah, it was so dead.
Half-time, and literally... people weren't getting back into their seats at Spurs or Tottenham Stadium. 52 minutes, and you're seeing all these empty seats fill out. There was really no... and it got going, because the atmosphere can be great there. I've been there a good few times now, and I come away thinking if you can get it going, it really can, be loud and great atmosphere to play in. But yesterday, the game changed with substitutions. Obviously, once Manchester United went to 10 men because of the injury to Sesko, who, again, a bit like Muani, he looks like he's so out of sorts. He really does. And I think he's got a bad injury. I think we're going to find out he's going to be out for a while, because I watched him after the pass from Fernandes, he didn't get it out of his feet, and he looks like he gets his legs stuck.
I think it looks like it could be a major knee.
Yeah, from
Injury.
the first moment I saw it, I said he's done a bad injury there.
Oh dear.
So hopefully I'm wrong and he's okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of the reports this morning, even in the back pages, Sam's going to be here for a look at them a little bit later on, are suggesting that it looks like he could have caused a bit of an issue here for his knee. As for Manchester United, that means 5 games unbeaten for Ruben Amorim, and I actually was fairly, obviously happy for Delet getting the equaliser yesterday to take a point in that game. It just feels like steady progress, because Spurs with a win yesterday could have gone up to second for a brief period.
Yeah.
I think that's good, great progress for strong character, by the way.
There's still a lot of stuff to be done at Manchester United.
Of course.
And that's with players like Ungati, who came on, who got bypassed so easily by Odegaard in midfield for their goal. They do lack the legs in some positions. I thought Ahmed done really well. I thought Brian Mbeumo was really good. De Ligt obviously led by example and gets the equaliser. There was things that were good, and you're right, being on that role of not being beaten, but there's still issues and some major ones that they have to deal with as a club.
Manchester United's young striker, Benjamin Šeško, suffered a worrying injury during the 2-2 draw against Tottenham Hotspur yesterday. The Slovenian forward, who came on in the second half, was forced off late in the game after a heavy challenge involving Mickey van de Ven. He appeared to clutch his knee before being substituted in the 88th minute, raising fears among United fans. Manager Ruben Amorim confirmed after the match that the club is really concerned, saying Šeško felt discomfort in his knee and would undergo further tests. Initial examinations have brought some relief. Early scans show no major ligament damage, but the medical team has ordered a full MRI to confirm the extent of the issue. According to reports, the injury may not be as serious as first feared, though Šeško could still face a short spell on the sidelines depending on the MRI results. The club hopes to have more clarity in the coming days. For now, Manchester United are cautiously optimistic, with Amorim emphasizing the need for patience. He has something in his knee. Let's see. Fans will be hoping it's only a minor setback for the rising star.